High Empress Zixavoria's tentacles rippled with satisfaction as she gazed down at the assembled representatives of the galaxy's 1,000 conquered worlds. The Grand Council chamber of the Kraxan Empire stretched before her, a sea of alien faces all turned toward their supreme ruler with appropriate terror and awe. Well, mostly terror and awe. That one delegate from Proxima Centauri appeared to be doing something suspicious with their communication device under the table. She made a mental note to have them quietly vaporized later, or perhaps just audited by the Imperial Revenue Service. The latter usually proved more traumatic. "My most graciously subjugated subjects," she began, her voice echoing through the chamber's perfect acoustics, "as we enter the 47,283rd year of our glorious empire's expansion." "Your magnificent terror," squeaked a voice from her left. Zixavoria's eye stalks twitched with annoyance. Her personal assistant, Gurix, was hovering nearby with all four of his arms wringing themselves into knots. She had specifically ordered no interruptions during her annual speech of domination and mandatory appreciation. "This had better be about an exploding sun," she muttered. "Worse, your supremacy." Gurix's cream-colored skin had taken on a distinctly green tinge. "It's about Earth." The Empress's tentacles coiled tightly. "Ah yes, Earth. Their latest conquest, a completely unremarkable planet orbiting an utterly mediocre star. The humans had put up exactly zero resistance to their invasion fleet, which had been almost disappointing. They just kept asking for forms to fill out and permits to file. "And what about Earth?" she demanded. "Did they finally figure out how to properly cower?" Gurix's third eye started twitching. "Not exactly, your terrifyingness. It's about the submission pods we installed, the ones designed to break their spirit through endless cycles of monotonous contemplation." "Yes, those." Gurix pulled out a holopad and an advertisement shimmered to life in the air between them. A human in what appeared to be minimal fabric coverage was lounging in a submission pod, but the pod was different. It was filled with bubbling water, had cup holders installed, and seemed to be equipped with something called therapeutic massage jets. The human looked irritatingly content. "Luxury spa experience," proclaimed the floating text. "Authentic Kraxan Empire trademark relaxation technology, as featured in Better Homes and Galaxies magazine." Zixavoria's primary heart skipped a beat. "Did you say trademark?" Gurix nodded miserably. "It seems when we filed the standard declaration of absolute dominion, the humans redirected it through something called their patent office. In processing the paperwork, we accidentally granted them exclusive rights to use our name and imagery for commercial purposes. Well, revoke it immediately." "We can't, your horrifyingness. They've already filed the documentation with the Galactic Trade Federation. If we attempt to interfere, we'll be in violation of at least 73 intergalactic commerce laws." The Empress turned back to address the council, only to notice that several delegates were now openly scrolling through what appeared to be a Kraxan collection catalogue on their devices. A representative from the Andromeda Galaxy was enthusiastically pointing out something called a deluxe Imperial bubble bath package to their neighbor. Her tentacles trembled with rage. Or was it embarrassment? The two emotions were becoming uncomfortably difficult to distinguish. "Gurix," she said slowly, "please tell me this is an isolated incident." Her assistant's fourth eye began twitching in sync with the third. "Well, you're escalating blood pressure about that. Have you heard of something called an infomercial?" The annual speech of domination and mandatory appreciation was about to take an unexpected turn. General Cathor of the Kraxan Empire's 7th Annihilation Fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship, the inevitable Doom, and wondered if it was too late to invade a different planet instead. "What do you mean we need a permit for planetary devastation?" he growled at the holographic image of a smiling human in a bland suit. "Well, sir, according to Municipal Code 47, 3.2b, any large-scale demolition activities require an environmental impact study and public comment period," the bureaucrat explained cheerfully. "Also, I noticed your declaration of absolute dominion wasn't notarized." Cathor's cybernetic eye twitched. "We are here to conquer your world. We don't need permits." Actually, the human adjusted his glasses. "According to the International Convention on Extraterrestrial Interactions of 2024, you do, and I'm afraid your invasion timeline conflicts with the Henderson Street block party next Thursday. Mrs. Peterson already reserved the parking permits. Behind Cathor, his bridge crew was drowning in paperwork. Lieutenant Zrax was on her fourth attempt to fill out Form 27, B6, application for hostile takeover, non-domestic. Commander Yith had been on hold with the insurance company for 3 hours trying to determine if their planetary shield disruptor was covered under the standard invasion policy or required additional premium coverage. This is absurd. Cathor slammed his tentacle down on his command console. We are the most feared military force in 3 galaxies. Our weapons can reduce continents to ash. About those weapons, the bureaucrat interjected, our OSHA compliance team has some concerns. Your planetary devastator lacks proper safety railings, and the soul-crushing dominance pods don't include adequate ventilation or emergency exits. Also, the warning labels are only in Kraxan. They'll need to be translated into at least 47 Earth languages. Cathor slumped in his command chair. They'd conquered 12,000 worlds, and not one had required them to file an application in triplicate with the Department of Interstellar Affairs, newly created that morning. Sir, Lieutenant Zrax called out, the Homeowners Association in Sector 7 is demanding we change the color of our death rays. Apparently, apocalyptic red isn't on their approved palette. And sir, Commander Yith added, finally off hold, our insurance won't cover dominion over Earth unless we install anti-slip mats in all conquest vehicles and provide proof of vaccination for the entire invasion force. The bureaucrat's smile hadn't wavered. If you'd like to expedite the process, I can schedule you for an emergency hearing with the Board of Zoning Appeals. Their next available slot is in 18 months. Cathor's cybernetic eye was now stuck in an infinite loop of twitching. Fine. Where do I file the appeals form? Oh, that's easy. You'll just need to submit Form 62X through our online portal, though the portal is currently down for scheduled maintenance, and you'll need to create an account first, but account creation is only available during lunar eclipses. Also, have you completed your Earth W9? In the background, Lieutenant Zrax had begun quietly sobbing into a stack of requisition forms. Commander Yith was attempting to explain to their insurance provider why a planet cracker cannon should be classified as essential medical equipment. One more thing, the bureaucrat added brightly. Will you be claiming this invasion as a business expense or a hobby? It affects your filing status with the IRS. Cathor opened his mouth to respond, but was interrupted by an urgent message from the ship's legal team. Apparently, they'd accidentally agreed to Earth's terms and conditions while trying to access the invasion permit application portal. According to the fine print, they'd signed up for a monthly subscription to something called LinkedIn Premium and given Earth the right to use their likeness in all future marketing materials. The mighty General Cathor, scourge of the spiral arm, destroyer of 1,000 worlds, did the only thing he could do. He asked for a manager. The bureaucrat's smile grew even wider. I'll transfer you to our customer service department. Your call is important to us. Expected wait time is 7 to 10 business days. General Cathor stared in horror at the advertisement hovering above his morning nutrient paste. A human in a gaudy apron was cheerfully demonstrating the new quantum death ray XL 9000 Premium Grill Series. Perfect for everything from steaks to s'mores, the human announced, adjusting the radiation settings. And with our patented Apocalypse Sear technology trademark, you'll get those restaurant-quality grill marks every time. Order in the next 30 minutes and receive a free Kiss the Conqueror apron. The mighty weapon that had once reduced the moons of Xenon 7 to cosmic dust was now being used to make something called pulled pork. His communication crystal chimed. It was Lieutenant Zrax, and she sounded panicked. Sir, we have a situation in the ship's hangar bay. Cathor arrived to find his fearsome battlecruiser, Terra's Shadow, surrounded by food trucks. Humans in chef's hats were installing kitchen equipment in the weapon bays. The plasma cannon had been converted into a soft-serve ice cream dispenser. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. A human in a business suit approached, waving a stack of papers. Ah, General, glad you're here. According to subsection 47B of the Declaration of Absolute Dominion, which your legal team signed without reading the fine print, I might add, any unutilized military assets can be repurposed for civilian entrepreneurial initiatives. We're calling it Kraxan Cuisine, street food from another world. Cathor watched in dismay as humans painted vibrant murals on his ship's formerly terrifying hull. The skull-shaped command bridge was now wearing a giant sombrero. Try our quantum quesadillas, a vendor called out, now with extra-dimensional guacamole. Before Cathor could respond, his personal communication device buzzed with an urgent message from Central Command. The Empire's elite warrior caste, the Void Stalkers, had gone missing. He pulled up the tracking data and found them. At a local fitness center? The scene that greeted him at Planet Fitness Plus would haunt his nightmares. His fearsome warriors, whose training regimen had once included surviving on plasma storms and wrestling black holes, were leading a group of enthusiastic humans through something called a HIT workout. "Feel the burn like your planet's about to," shouted Voidmaster Karex, now wearing neon spandex and a headset. "Give me 20 quantum leaps. Work those tentacles. This summer body won't conquer itself." The humans were eating it up. Literally, in some cases, there was a protein shake bar selling Warrior Way, Strength of 1,000 Worlds, in various flavors. But the final indignity came that evening when Cathor received an urgent message from his publisher. Yes, apparently, he had a publisher now. "Great news," the message bubbled. "Your invasion logs have been adapted into a best-selling self-help book. The Art of War, but make it corporate. Leadership Lessons from an Alien Invasion is topping all the charts. Your social media following has exploded." Cathor pulled up his newly created Instaglax profile to find he had somehow gained 3 million followers. His latest post, a frustrated rant about Earth's permit requirements, had been rebranded as 10 Ways to Disrupt Traditional Market Penetration Paradigms. Humans were quoting his battle strategies in corporate presentations. His invasion protocols were being taught in business schools. Someone had even made an inspirational poster out of his threat to reduce Earth to cosmic dust, overlaying the text on a picture of a sunset. His device pinged again. "Don't forget about your TED Talk next week. The topic is Failing Forward, How Earth's Bureaucracy Made Me a Better Leader. Also, your agent called. They want to discuss merchandising opportunities, something about action figures and a possible reality TV show." Cathor slumped in his command chair, which had been reupholstered with something called ergonomic lumbar support, and now made soothing whale sounds when he sat down. "Lieutenant Zrax," he called out wearily, "please tell me there's at least one part of our invasion force that hasn't been commercialized." "Well, sir." Zrax consulted her tablet. "The good news is our dreaded mind probe technology remains unused. The bad news is that's only because it's tied up in a patent dispute. Apparently, someone named Mark Zuckerberg claims he had the idea first." Through the viewport, Cathor watched as a fleet of his former battlecruisers, now painted in cheerful colors and trailing advertisements for out-of-this-world tacos, formed an orderly line for a food truck permit inspection. His communication crystal chimed one final time. "Sir," Commander Yith reported, "marketing wants to know if you're interested in launching a podcast. They're thinking of calling it Invasion Disruption, scaling your galactic domination strategy." Cathor's cybernetic eye started twitching again. Somewhere in the distance he could hear the distinctive sound of a food truck's bell, followed by a human shouting, "Get your Nebula nachos here, made with authentic cracks and cheese substitute, gluten-free options available." The mighty general did the only thing he could do. He updated his LinkedIn profile. High Empress Zixvoria was having a terrible morning. It had started with her teenage daughter, Zixatoria, stomping into the Imperial breakfast chamber, wearing what appeared to be a human hoodie, with random bits of circuit board hot glued to it. "Everyone's wearing Earth fashion, Mum. Oh, you're so out of touch with youth culture," Zixatoria had proclaimed, all three of her head crests colored with something called neon hair dye. But we conquered them," Zixvoria sputtered. "They're supposed to be adopting our culture." Actually, her economic advisor Gapuk interjected, reviewing the latest reports. "Earth's GDP has tripled since we conquered them. They're now the fastest growing economy in the sector. The Galactic Bank is considering making their currency the new standard for interstellar trade. They don't even have a unified planetary government." "No, but they do have something called venture capital firms. Apparently, they've been funding expansion into the Crab Nebula. They're calling it their Startup Initiative." Before Zixvoria could process this, the chamber's holoscreen lit up with breaking news. The Vraxids, the Craxons' longtime rivals, had launched their own invasion of Earth. "Finally!" Zixvoria exclaimed. "Let's see how the humans handle real mind control technology." The news footage showed the Vraxid fleet deploying their dreaded consciousness-altering devices. only to have them immediately repackaged as a subscription-based meditation app called Mindspace. Find your inner peace with authentic alien mind control, the advertisement chirped, now featuring the soothing psychic frequencies of real Vraxid war priests. Upgrade to premium for exclusive mantras from the hive mind. The Vraxid Supreme Commander was being interviewed on human television, looking dazed. We came to dominate their consciousness, he admitted, but their freemium business model is far more effective at capturing minds than our technology ever was. Gapak cleared his throat. The Vraxids have already signed a partnership deal. They're pivoting to the wellness industry, something about mindfulness as a service. The Empress's tentacles curled in horror as she watched more reports flood in. The Quantum Collective had attempted to digitize Earth's population, only to have their consciousness uploading technology turned into a social media platform called Metaverse Plus. The Silicon Hive had tried to replace human workers with robots, but the humans had simply hired the robots as middle management and taught them to use PowerPoint. The Voidwalkers' attempt to trap Earth in a pocket dimension had been repurposed as a chain of themed escape rooms. Your terrifyingness, Gapak said gently. There's more. The humans have started a consulting firm. They're teaching other conquered species how to monetize their subjugation. The holoscreen showed images of various alien races attending seminars with titles like Turn Your Invasion into Income, a 10-Step Guide, and Disrupting the Domination Paradigm, Opportunities in the Post-Conquest Economy. And, Gapak hesitated, your son has started an influencer collective with some human teenagers. They're calling themselves the Intergalactic Hype House. He's already gained 6 million followers on something called Space Talk. Right on cue, Zix Voria's personal device buzzed with a notification. Her son had just posted a new video, pranking my mum, the supreme ruler of known space, gone wrong, almost got exiled. The Empress slumped on her throne, which had recently been reupholstered with what humans called mid-century modern design elements. In the distance, she could hear the faint sound of her royal guard attempting to learn something called the Macarena for their upcoming TikTok challenge. Perhaps, Gapak suggested delicately, we should consider rebranding the empire? The marketing team, yes, we have one of those now, suggests Craxon Enterprises, innovating across the cosmos. They've already designed a new logo. It's more minimalist. Zix Voria stared out at the capital city where a massive billboard now advertised Invasion 2.0, the future of sustainable galactic conquest. Below it, a food truck staffed by former death robots was serving something called fusion cuisine. Her empire wasn't just being defeated, it was being disrupted. Deep beneath the United Nations building in New York, past the gift shop and 3 floors below the secret gift shop, Sarah Chen sat in her office and smiled at the latest reports. As Chief Strategic Officer of the Bureau of Extraterrestrial Entrepreneurship, BE, she'd spent the last 15 years preparing for this moment. Though honestly, most of that time had been spent filing paperwork. Miss Chen, her assistant, poked his head in. The Galactic Council's representatives are here for the revelation. Sarah straightened her perfectly pressed suit and adjusted her nameplate, which read, Sarah Chen, former patent clerk, current architect of galactic economic domination. The smaller text underneath added, please take a number and fill out form X47B before speaking. High Empress Zix Voria burst into the office, tentacles writhing with fury. She was followed by General Kethor, whose latest self-help book, Who Moved My Ion Cannon, was topping the charts, and representatives from 6 other alien empires. You, Zix Voria pointed accusingly, this was all planned. Please, Sarah gestured to the chairs, have a seat and do mind the upholstery. It's made from repurposed Vraxid battle armor. We're calling it military-industrial chic. Our invasion. Kethor's cybernetic eye was practically strobing with revelation. The permits, the paperwork, the endless bureaucratic loops, it wasn't incompetence at all. Of course not. Sarah opened a holographic presentation. Welcome to Operation Corporate Takeover, though legal says we should call it a synergistic integration initiative for liability reasons. The presentation showed the Bureau's vast underground complex where thousands of lawyers, marketers and bureaucrats had spent years preparing Earth's true defense system, paperwork, entire vaults filled with pre-filed patents for every conceivable alien technology, trademark applications for empire names in every possible language, an entire department dedicated to finding loopholes in galactic trade law. You see, Sarah explained, pulling up a galaxy-wide market analysis, I had a theory. Any civilization advanced enough for interstellar travel would have to be highly organized, systematic, and rule-following. They'd have to respect procedures and protocols, she smiled. In other words, they'd be absolutely defenseless against humanity's greatest weapon, bureaucracy. But the paperwork, Zixavoria sputtered, the permits, the terms and conditions, all carefully crafted to be precisely as confusing as legally possible while remaining technically valid under both Earth and galactic law. Did you know we had a team of 50 lawyers spend 3 years optimizing the font size of our fine print? It's small enough to be frustrating, but just large enough to be technically readable under the Galactic Fair Documentation Act. The alien stared in horror at footage of the Bureau's Marketing Warfare Division, where creatives were already designing promotional campaigns for technologies that hadn't even been invented yet. The whole conquest thing is rather outdated, Sarah continued. Modern domination is about market share, brand recognition, and most importantly, she grinned, recurring revenue streams. So Earth's chaotic response to invasion, Keithor began, was actually a carefully orchestrated strategy developed by our team of Six Sigma black belts, McKinsey consultants, and that most fearsome of Earth's warriors, middle management. Sarah stood, smoothing her suit. Now then, shall we discuss franchising opportunities? I have the paperwork right here, in triplicate, of course. The mighty alien leaders, conquerors of 1,000 worlds, found themselves doing something unprecedented, taking a number and waiting their turn. In her office, Sarah smiled and began filling out Form BB 742, Declaration of Victory through administrative means. She'd known all those years ago in the patent office that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or weapons. It was their ability to make those things fill out paperwork. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from a dozen alien empires were waving contractual agreements and franchise prospectuses, their various appendages trembling with fury and financial anxiety. Order! I will have order! High Empress Zixavoria's voice boomed across the chamber. Her tentacles were tied in stress knots, and she'd accidentally color-coordinated her imperial robes with Earth's latest fashion trend. We must stop this human expansion before... Point of order, a human lawyer stood up, straightening her power suit. According to Section 7, Paragraph 12 of the Galactic Council's bylaws, any motion to restrict trade must be submitted in writing, with proper notarization, at least 3 business cycles in advance. This is an emergency session. Actually, another lawyer chimed in, according to the fine print in the emergency session declaration, this technically qualifies as a special administrative review of urgent marketplace developments. He smiled. Different forms. Keithor, now sporting an Earth-style business casual look, complete with a holocomputer-equipped smartwatch, cleared his throat. The human expansion is generating unprecedented profits. My latest quarterly report. Enough! Zixavoria slammed all 4 fists down. Then we'll simply destroy Earth itself. See how well they franchise from a pile of cosmic dust. The chamber fell silent. Then Sarah Chen, attending via hologram, smiled that terrifying bureaucrat smile. Interesting proposal, Your Highness. However, I should point out that Earth itself has been reorganized into approximately 12,473 legally distinct subsidiary locations, each with its own corporate registration and insurance policy. Destroying any of them would constitute a breach of at least, she consulted her tablet, 17 million contracts, 23,000 franchise agreements, and one very specific clause about preserving historically significant food truck locations. But, Zixavoria's tentacles drooped. Also, Sarah added cheerfully, we've already filed the paperwork to classify any such action as an unauthorized corporate restructuring. The fines alone would bankrupt the empire. I have the calculations right here, in triplicate. The mighty High Empress of the Kraxan Empire, conqueror of 1,000 worlds, did the only thing she could do. She scheduled a meeting with her financial advisor. 1 year later, the headquarters of Kraxan Lifestyle Brands LLC, formerly the Imperial Palace, buzzed with activity. In the main atrium, beneath a giant minimalist logo that looked suspiciously like the old Imperial crest run through a Silicon Valley design team, High Empress, Chief Vision Officer, Zixavoria, was reviewing the latest quarterly projections. "Our Conqueror collection is exceeding expectations," her marketing director reported. "Turns out people love luxury products that literally used to subjugate worlds. We're calling it despotic chic." On the holoscreen above them, General Kithor's reality show, Keeping Up with the Kraxons, was breaking viewership records. This week's episode featured him trying to learn human yoga, his cybernetic eye malfunctioning every time he attempted a downward-facing dog. "In other news," the director continued, "the Vraxids have officially signed on as our strategic partners. Their mind control technology is revolutionary for targeted advertising." Through the window, Zixavoria watched a fleet of former warships, now painted in pastels and branded with the slogan, "From Conquest to Comfort" trademark, delivering the latest line of luxury goods across the galaxy. Their fearsome weapons had been converted into spa equipment, their prison cells into meditation rooms. The Galactic Council itself had been restructured into something called a Board of Directors, with Earth holding a controlling interest through some clever stock maneuvering that nobody quite understood, but everyone had somehow agreed to. "Oh, and your daughter's influencer collective just hit 1 billion followers," the director added. "They're launching a new line of authentically apocalyptic streetwear next quarter." But that wasn't even the half of it. The galaxy had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The feared Nebula pirates had pivoted to become artisanal space raiders, offering curated subscription boxes of ethically sourced plunder. Their tagline, "Pillage with Purpose" trademark. Former planetary defense systems were being repurposed as the galaxy's largest light show network. The infamous death ring of Proxima Centauri was now hosting something called Coachella in Space, 3 cycles of music, art, and overpriced food trucks. The Quantum Collective, once dedicated to erasing all organic life, had found surprising success in the tech startup scene. Their AI-driven dating app, Binary Hearts, promised to match users across multiple dimensions of compatibility, literally. Even the dreaded void beasts, ancient horrors from beyond space-time, had been domesticated and turned into an exotic pet franchise. Lovecraftian leopards, the perfect eldritch horror for your home, was already on its 3rd round of venture capital funding. Commander Yith, who'd once led the Kraxon Empire's feared cybernetics division, was now running a chain of robotic coffee shops called Stars and Circuits. Their signature drink, the blue screen of death frappuccino, had gone viral across 17 star systems. In the palace's converted lobby, now a trendy co-working space, a group of former war priests were attending a seminar titled "Transitioning Your Apocalyptic Prophecies into Motivational Speaking," a 6-week course. The Galactic University system had been completely revamped. The most popular course, Human Resources, actually managing human resources. The second most popular, Advanced Earthling Marketing Psychology, why they buy things they don't need. But perhaps most surprisingly, Earth's influence had begun spreading beyond mere commerce. The annual Galactic Conquest Games had been replaced with something called the Amazing Space Race, Entrepreneurial Edition. Instead of military victories, competitors now battled for market share and social media engagement. The Intergalactic Museum of Natural History had opened a new wing, Earth's greatest weapon, the filing cabinet, a history of administrative dominance. Zixavoria nodded, adjusting her Earth-designed power suit. It was strange how quickly things had changed. But as she watched her former empire's profit margins soar, she had to admit, being a brand was far more profitable than being a conqueror. Her personal device chimed with a notification, trending now #Galactic Girlboss #Empires to Empowerment #Conquer the Market. Below it was an invitation to speak at something called TEDx Andromeda about her journey from supreme ruler to corporate innovator. As she began drafting her presentation, From Death Stars to Star Power, Rebranding Your Galactic Empire for the Modern Age, Zixavoria couldn't help but wonder what the next quarterly earnings call would bring, and somewhere in the back of her mind, a tiny voice whispered that perhaps, just perhaps, Earth's conquest had only just begun. In the distance, a food truck's bell chimed, followed by the sound of a former Doomwalker asking if anyone wanted to try their new plant-based Beyond Antimatter burger. Sarah Chen was working late in her office at the Bureau of Extraterrestrial Entrepreneurship when her quantum-encrypted terminal chimed. The message that appeared made her sit up straight. From the eternal confluence of the 7 dimensions, partnership opportunities, urgency, transcending linear time. To the esteemed architects of Earth's economic expansion, the message began, we have observed your species' remarkable ability to transform military conquest into market penetration. Our civilization exists beyond conventional space-time and commands energies that could reshape reality itself. We are interested in discussing franchise opportunities. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she pulled up Form X91C, Application for Interdimensional Business Partnership, Non-Euclidean Entities. She'd prepared this paperwork 15 years ago, just in case. Please find attached our standard 47000 page terms and conditions, she typed in response. Note that all reality warping capabilities must comply with local zoning laws. As she hit send, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if perhaps humanity's greatest export wasn't technology or culture or even bureaucracy. It was paperwork all along.